So a few weeks ago, Tosin Junaid came to Ghana. He was hosted by my friend Shafiki Jazzy of Muse Studios, and they hosted a workshop in Muse's studio, and I attended that workshop. I've been doing photography for a very long time, and there are certain things that I knew, certain things that I understood, but then Tosin just put everything into perspective for me and has given me like a new drive, a new energy, and just a new curiosity, towards photography, and I am truly happy about it, and that is what this video is about. So we are going to look at some of the behind the scenes of a shoot that I did and how I applied some of the things that I had learned from Tosin Junaid, which, to be honest, chef's kiss, and it's just making me embrace a new journey in this photography space that I'm in. So I've always loved to create beautiful images with soft contrast, little shadows, just this clean, crisp vibe. But one thing that I learned from Tosin Junaid, which I feel like is now just changing my photography, is embracing shadows. So I've never been one to be afraid of shadows.
I'm Batman.
But I've never really intentionally incorporated them into my images until I attended the workshop. And as you would see from this video, even the modifiers that I'm choosing, where I'm positioning them, and how I am crafting the images, it's quite similar to what I normally do, but this is also with more of an intentional vibe. So you notice that I'm using more Fresnels, more of smaller light sources, more of smaller modifiers as well, just because those are the only ways that you can create more or intentional shadows. And I'm also shifting the positioning of my lights a little bit more so that I can create more shadows in my shots. Now, what this also introduces is this drama, this feel that you honestly cannot put your finger on, but it just creates this balance and texture in your images that are absolutely beautiful. So first things first, talking about the lighting setup that I used for this shoot, I used a total of 3 lights. Now I'm going to start with the weakest light. The weakest light is how I always like to start off when I'm starting a clean shoot inside the studio. So if I'm starting with the weakest light, that obviously is going to be my edge light. And that is what I use the most when I want to separate my model or my subject from the backdrop. And in this case, because we're using small light sources and they're not traveling far enough to hit the backdrop, there's a very high chance that the backdrop is going to go really dark. And so using an edge light is not just important, but it also just helps you shape your image exactly how you want it, adding a bit of separation and contrast in your image. For the main light, I'm also using a Fresnel, and I'm using the Aperture 600C Pro 2, and that is an absolutely beautiful light. It's so powerful. You can do so much with it, and I absolutely love it. It's built like a tank. It feels really solid, and it just gets the job done. And I feel like it's something that you can truly rely on if you're on the market for any LED lights that you want to use for both photo and video. And because I'm more like a hybrid shooter nowadays, I'm always investing or looking for equipment that will be able to stand the test of time and grow with you as you're growing your craft. So those are 2 lights that I use. So we spoke about the Storm ATC, which I use as my edge light, modified that with a Fresnel just to keep it focused into one area. And then now we're talking about the main light, or what is shaping my subject, what is the Aperture 600C Pro 2, and that's also going through a Fresnel. Now, for my fill light, I'm using a strobe, and this to me just gives me like a very nice balance between the little bit of motion blur that you get from using LEDs. The flash just helps you freeze the moment, freeze the subject, and it just creates a little bit more of a crisp image. So ideally, it would have been nice if I used another LED, which of course I have the Amaran 300C that I could have used, but I just chose to use the flash because I wanted to fill in the area a little bit, but also just use the opportunity to freeze my subject a little bit more. So sometimes you notice that if you're capturing images with LED throughout, it isn't going to be as crisp as if you're using a flash, and I'm just using this again just to make my images look a little bit more crisp than if I was just using LEDs. You can get away with LEDs, but it's just something that I like to mix, which just gives me that little pop that I need. So for that fill light, what I decided to do is just put a small 90cm softbox on there, and that is also not as big as the 120cm or the 150cm or the 60-inch that I'm always using for my fill light. So if I'm using a big modifier, there's a high chance that that light is going to spread across a bigger area and also create a softer light, because the bigger your light source, colors in relation to your subject, the softer the light. So now we have all these things out of the way. You also notice that our model is in a beautiful red dress adorned with these gold accessories, creating texture. But also in her outfit, you see that there are some patterns in there which creates a lot more interest. Now the dress that she's wearing is also a little bit more fitting, and so it also just makes you see her shape even better. And then we're also going to be making her pose in such a way that, because Chris Ken is someone who loves dramatic poses, we're going to make her try a lot of those, and you see that the shapes that she's creating with her body just helps create more of an interesting image, if you get what I mean. If we move beyond our model and the background, this is also an amazing piece that I just added to my backdrop collection, and I got it from Canvas Backdrops right here in Ghana. And it's this beautiful scape in the background where there is a nice gradation or a nice gradient in terms of color and light and texture. And I feel like the backdrop doesn't only help tell a better story, but it also creates visual interest, and all these different elements come together to help me create this beautiful image that you're seeing on your screen. So after doing a few tests and realizing what works and what I liked, we started off with some standing poses. And again, anytime you're doing a studio shoot, when you set up your lights for a particular set of images, anytime your model is going to change the position, maybe she's standing, now she's sitting, maybe she's going to lie down, always make sure that you're adjusting your lighting to optimize what you're getting in frame. Don't set up your lights for her to be standing and all of a sudden she sits down or she lies down and you think that the same lighting setup that you had will suffice for what you're about to do. Always readjust, reposition, because you're spending time to craft an image. So make sure that you're always readjusting your light to suit whatever pose that your model is doing. So now that we had her lying down, we're also now looking for interesting poses that she could do, interesting shapes that she could create with her body, and we found this interesting pose that I absolutely love. It took me a while to readjust and position the light to get it exactly how I wanted it to be, but trust me, after we spent a little bit of time adjusting the lighting and finding the correct positioning and making sure that every light in frame had a specific task and they were all working together to craft the image that we wanted, the images that we created were absolutely beautiful. So now that we've been able to do all of this, during the shoot when I was capturing the images, I realized that even though visually I could see that there was some stark contrast between the background and our model, and the way I positioned the lights and even the direction that the lights were coming from truly shifted the way the camera was capturing the images, I realized that I needed to create the contrast in post. So in Capture One, what I decided to do was to select my subject separately, select the dress that she was wearing separately, select the background separately, and then treat each of them to different exposures and different colors just to help create more contrast in the image. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Which of these do you like the best? So there is an image here on the left where it's a straight raw file coming straight into Capture One where I have minimal adjustments made to it, versus the other one on the right where I selected my subject separately, selected the dress that she was wearing separately, selected the background separately, and then treated all of those to different exposures, different color temperatures, and different intensities. Let me know which one you gravitate more towards, and let me know if this is something that you also know about or something that you also do in the comments. I will be excited to read what you think about these images. Yeah, so that's it for today's video. Tosin Junaid also has an amazing YouTube channel. I'm going to leave his link down below. You can also check out Canvas Backdrops. I'm going to leave his link down below. And also check out Shafiq Ijaz's work on Instagram. I'm going to leave a link down below. Check him out, and I'm sure you can learn a thing or two from Tosin or from Shafiq. And that's all I've got for you guys today. I'll see you guys in the next one. And remember, don't ever give up.